Hi, I'm Nancy. Welcome to Mindful Yoga. Today we're going to do a practice that opens the chest, brings ease to the shoulders and neck, which is part of our goal here, but more completely to lengthen the muscles of the chest, unstick the connective tissue of the chest and around and in under the arms and back to the shoulder blades so that we have full movement and healthier shoulders and neck. Let's come to a sitting position. We'll start by breathing. Fullness of breath itself being a way to open the chest, open the back body, and to lengthen up through the spine. So let the eyes soften and the body sink down a bit towards the ground. Feeling the weight of the body, the groundedness. And as you let tension go, feeling a little uplift, buoyancy through all the connective tissue. And bring the attention to the breath, the diaphragm, dipping down, massaging the stomach, well, really down towards the intestines, and then coming back up. Mind signaling those muscles on the inside of the lower ribs to expand out to the sides and the back. Feeling a roundedness as you expand the lower ribs to the side and the back with the movement of the diaphragm down. And with the exhale, a letting go of the lower front ribs and the lower tips of the shoulder blades in the back, relaxing down, letting go. And continue inhaling that for a few breaths. Emphasizing the roundness of the body, the fullness of the body, the diaphragm, the lower ribs, particularly in the sides and the back. And allow that breath to lengthen just a little bit more on the inhale. The expansion of the lower ribs extends up behind the heart, in front of the heart, under the arms, like a helium balloon floating you upwards. And that's where the breath finishes. And exhale down, knitting down through the lower front ribs, lower tips of the shoulder blades, letting tension flow into the earth, composting it. And continue as your breath lengthens a bit, inhaling lower ribs, that helium balloon lifting up, widening the collarbone a bit, and the letting go, tension, tired energy, letting it go as much as you can through the organs, the heart, the stomach, the liver, the intestines, kidneys, down through the reproductive organs, into the legs and the feet. Enjoying the fullness of the breath as the breath flows into muscles, fascia around the muscles, bones, ligaments, tendons, blood vessels, and blood itself. Myriad forms of connective tissue within the body. Bring the hands down to the side as the eyes open. Arms lift up, slowly coming together overhead on a big inhale. And then opening once again. Let the palms be down to shoulder height and then come down. Turning the palms up, stretching out through the arms as you come through shoulder height, experiencing the opening as you feel it, not only through arms and hands and fingers, but through the chest as well. Just moving to feel, not overthinking it, just letting the senses be alive, letting the mind come into the body one more time. Now let one hand come down beside you, other arm reaches up, bow out through the ribs, remain long through the spine, let the connective tissue be buoyant up through the spine as you come into a side bend that is long really on both sides, allowing the spine to remain smooth and supple without wearing and tearing it at any point. Christina Feldman writes, inviting us to abide in calm in the midst of agitation, to abide in peace in the midst of conflict, to abide in balance in the midst of chaos. And bring both arms down. Let arms come out to the side, stretching out from heart, out through shoulders, elbows, wrists, into the fingers, maybe folding in the fingers and folding them out a bit, turning the wrist a few times, one direction and then the other. And then bringing the focus in to the heart and the chest, feeling the width of the collarbone, the opening across the chest, the pectoral muscles in the front, under the arms. Then beginning to turn from the waist up, eyes, neck, heart just moving with the cylinder of the body from the waist up, a thoracic twist. Feldman continues, it seems to be an impossible task to have this kind of peace and calm in chaos. Yet the size of the task is only ever equal to the size of the moment. Size of the task is only ever equal to the size of the moment. Right here in this present moment. Bring the hands down. Remove anything that is too high or uncomfortable underneath you as we come back into wide knees and feet, hands giving you support in the back, and begin to let the knees windshield wiper back and forth, just softly at first as you begin to open up in the hip joints. Good support from the hands up through the shoulders, wide fingers. And then let the hips come up a little bit more. We don't want to strain the lumbar lower spine, but as the hips move, that allows more twists to occur. And let an arm enter in, coming round, closing in that shoulder, coming into internal rotation as we come around. And then feeling the arm coming around and holding you with a little external rotation. One more time, and then we'll come down into a full body twist. You can be on your hands or down on your forearms. Forehead might come to the back of the hands. Experiencing some of that peace in the midst of any kind of agitation that might be in the mind. Let the mind be still just listening to the hum of the mind. And coming back up, we're going to come up to a standing position. And we'll start by just letting some of the tension in our bodies go, really to get out of our own way, so that as the tension goes, this natural buoyancy and juiciness can come into our connective tissue, into our ligaments and tendons, our discs, the wrappings around our muscles, the cartilage throughout our body, even the blood vessels, the blood and the lymph nodes. So swinging a little bit as you come down, bring the hands up in front and begin to stretch through the hands, particularly through the fingers, feeling the knuckles, feeling the palms opening. Let that stretching come up through wrists and forearms, up into elbows, up through the shoulders, through a loose neck, and down through the heart to the belly, down from the belly and hips, through the thighs and the calves, down into the heels and the bottom of the feet, feeling the connection between the hands above and the feet below. Whole body stretching and allowing tension to flow down into the earth, allowing the body to be bright and light, both grounded and floating. One more time. And bring it up. Let the shoulders come up towards the ears and back behind. Feel the shoulder blades as they glide apart and then rise up, come together, retract, go down, and then forward. So always with the goal of having a smooth glide of the shoulder blades across those ribs in the back, so that shoulder blades can widen, as we do often in downward dog, for example, and retract, come together in the back, so that we can have good posture and openness in the front of the chest. And one time around the opposite direction. Bring the feet a little wider apart. Let shoulders and arms and fingers hang heavy as hips circle round. Letting the eyes be soft, bringing the attention to the pelvic bowl, feeling that inner ocean, allowing it to be free and easy flowing within you. Waking up the middle as you come around in the opposite direction. As the middle wakes, letting that awake buoyancy come down through the legs, into the feet that are soft into the earth. And let the buoyancy come up through the heart and the head. And let the hips come back to center. We're going to open up our wings, elbows, wrists, and fingers, shoulders soft, and then bring it in. Inhale, open. Exhale, fold your wings in. Aware that the wings are not only moving, the whole chest, ribs, shoulder blades in the back are moving with this. Letting the movement come from the very core of the chest and spread out. Aware of shoulder blades coming wide in the back and then tucking together. Aware of collarbone becoming more narrow and then widening out. And one more time. Hands come down along the sides, gathering in prana, chi, life force from all around us, trees, grasses, stars, the abundance of energy that is all around us, letting that filter down, letting the tension, tired, murky energy go from head, face, neck, lungs and heart, digestive organs, ribs, diaphragm, and down into the belly. Gathering up again, perhaps imagining your favorite place in nature, or just finding it right here in this present moment. All of the energy, the light, the lightness that can come into the head that now has space, the neck, which has space, the heart and lungs, other organs that have let tension go, and welcome in this abundant energy. One more time, lifting up, just allowing the energy to fill the spaces, letting go in all places where letting go is possible. Tension, tiredness, from shoulders, from torso, from pelvic bowl. Then coming down, scooping up the earth chi or prana, the life force, bringing it up to the heart and down into the hara, our core, our deep core. And just for a moment here, soft through the feet, up through legs, pelvic floor, ribs, shoulders, neck, up to the crown of the head. Everything soft, ready, open, and let the hands come down. So coming into mountain with our feet right under the hips, let the sides of the feet be parallel with the sides of the mat so that the toes are just the slightest bit turned in. This brings a turn in the deep inner thighs. So if you can just bring a slight turn in the deep inner thighs, tuck the sits bones together. Relax down through the legs and the feet. Draw up, allowing the buoyancy of the spinal connective tissue to hold you up just as it should. Nothing extra. That's what it's meant to do, to hold us upright, enable us to move. Even as we age and lose density in the bones, that buoyancy of the connective tissue holds us up. Aligning ribs down through hips. Taking care that on the exhale, the lower front ribs are coming down and the lower tips of the shoulder blades coming down so that the ribs are truly right over the hips, so that allows the shoulders to be just right over the hips. Long through the back of the neck, a little tuck in the chin. Relax down through the feet, loose through the neck. Now imagine you have a rubber band. If you had a rubber band, you could stretch it out horizontally, you could stretch it out vertically. We've all had balloons or rubber bands that we've stretched. So just imagine stretching that in various directions for a moment. And then let's come to a horizontal stretch. So imagine you're stretching that rubber band horizontally. Bring that stretch to the collarbone, widening across the collarbone, feeling the width between the ribs on one side and the other, feeling the width across the hips. Just allowing the mind to nurture that horizontal width, almost that smile that we have in various parts of our body, across the shoulders, across the ribs, the smile across the belly button area and the hips. Nurturing that. Now let's let the rubber band come in, and then we're going to stretch it vertically. So just imagine stretching it vertically. You're stretching vertically that rubber band. Transfer that into the distance between the ribs, the bottom of the ribs, and the collarbone. As if a rubber band was pulling gently down on the lower ribs and up on the collarbone, so that you feel length vertically up the chest. This gives us an idea of some of the openness that we are attempting to encourage in our bodies today. We live in a chair culture, a culture of computers and cell phones and chairs. When we drive, when we sit, when we watch TV, almost anything we do, even when we eat, usually. So our chest muscles become shortened as our shoulders round. We get more width between the shoulder blades. Those muscles are long. These other muscles, the trapezius, for example, is longer than it should be in the back, whereas the pectoral muscles get shortened here in the front. And there is shortening underneath the arm of the serratus anterior and across down into the hips. So we want to stretch these muscles, but part of what we're doing also is unsticking the connective tissue, the wrappings, and the tendons and ligaments, the wrappings of those muscles. This takes time. There is elasticity in connective tissue, but if we always are standing with rounded shoulders, or maybe ribs kind of sticking out and shoulders back, we are asking our connective tissue to glue itself in a certain way. And it does it. It's courteously conforming to what we are telling it to do. We're going to introduce some movements today that will start to unstick that connective tissue. And if repeated again and again over weeks and months, just a little bit every day, it can make a difference and bring some ease for our necks and shoulders and our general posture and health. We're going to give attention to the sternocleidomastoid muscle. This is a muscle that comes from the ear down through and attaches to the collarbone in the middle on each side. Because our head is often forward as we type, or because our shoulders are rounded, that's just all it can do as it looks up. We're going to try to bring some angularity. So really this is an angle, as you can see, from behind the ear to the mid collarbone, and we're going to bring some angularity there. We're going to work on the shoulder blades and their protracting and retracting ease. We're going to work with the serratus anterior that comes under the arm and connects up into the shoulder blade and into the rhomboids, eventually into the spine. It helps us protract, bring our shoulder blades apart. It also helps us raise our arms. And the shoulder blade glides out at that point. So we're going to come back to that and work on that. And then this relaxing down through our front low ribs and our lower tips of the shoulder blades, keeping the collarbone wide, shoulders centered without tension. Ultimately, we can use all of our muscles around the shoulders. Let's start with our neck. Bring the ear to the shoulder, and then turn so that the chin and nose come slightly upwards. This is bringing angularity and a little bit of stretch to that muscle and unsticking the connective tissue there. Turn and come back up through center. Other side, ear goes down to the shoulder. Turn up, the nose and the chin. What do you feel? Come up through center. Once again, bring on the original side, bring the ear over to the shoulder. Let the opposite arm come out with thumb down. Bring that arm back behind the waist. Turn the nose slightly up and maybe rock slightly back and forth. Soft down through your feet. Soft through the shoulder blades. So here we're opening the pectoral muscle in the front, the pectoralis major, and we're also unsticking the connective tissue along that sternocleidomastoid muscle. And you can hold that a little bit every day. Then coming up, bring the ear over in the opposite direction, nose and chin turn up, arm comes out to the side, thumb down, bring it back behind. Again, stretching the chest muscles and stretching that ear to collarbone muscle, bringing some angularity to it. Maybe rocking back and forth a bit with the chin. Bring the arm down and the head, eyes to the horizon. Now we're going to bring the arm around. Let's do the left arm. I'm not mirroring you. Bring the left arm around. And if it's possible for you to bring your hand so that you grip your bicep, that's great. If not, just bring your hand to wherever it comes. This movement is bringing some length to the pectoralis minor, which connects up here on the outer part of the shoulder, which is really the scapula that comes forward there, and then connects to the ribs down behind the breast. So just by doing this, we're stretching and reshaping our body, our connective tissue. Now at the same time, bring your ear over to the right and turn, just as we did before, nose turning up a bit and maybe rocking back and forth. Combining this unsticking of the neck muscle with the unsticking of the chest muscle. Bring the head back up. Switch arms so that the right hand comes around and is at the back or grabs the bicep of the left arm. Feel the little bit of tension you can feel here as that pectoralis minor opens a bit. Then let the ear come over to the left and turn, rock back and forth a bit. And come back up and back to neutral. So already we've started to lengthen these muscles a bit in the chest, which allows the shoulders to come back into their more natural centeredness over the hips. And we're bringing the neck back a bit from its often chin going forward position, and allowing those muscles to be more angular. Now we're going to move our arm in various ways, just being aware. Let's do the arm revolution, bringing the hand and arm back and around. Our shoulders are so very mobile. There's really just a small cup here, and then the big top of the humerus, the bone in the top part of the arm, that it turns, but it turns in a very small cup on the end of the scapula. So our shoulders are built to have, bring the arm up, a lot of mobility. They go up and down, they go around, they go forward and back. We're just doing one arm right now. So they pull the shoulder blade forward and back. Let's do the other arm. So when we became upright standing animals, the collarbone became wider, much wider than your dog or cat. The muscles separated there and back around the opposite direction. And our shoulders became much more mobile. You know your dogs and cats cannot do this, right? So we have lots of mobility here that we need, maybe when we reached up our arms to climb a tree at some point in our evolutionary development. And our arms can go forward, they can come back in as the shoulder blades glide across the ribs in the back. The shoulder blade, evolutionary, actually turned a little bit so that it can glide outwards. So now let's round our shoulders forward. Just round your shoulders forward, as we often do without even knowing it. I'm always amazed when I look at myself and think, oh, there you go, rounded shoulders. Now let's bring this one arm, just either arm, up and down. And notice the muscles you're using. You're actually using the muscles here, the internal rotators, in the more towards the front. You're not using all of your muscles. Try the other side. Keep that shoulder rounded a little bit just to see how that affects things. Now, another thing that happens is that we put our shoulders back. Not so much that we place our shoulders back, but that our ribs come out. We kind of collapse here. Our ribs come forward, and our shoulders, the whole shoulders, the ribs and the shoulders come back. If you're in this position with the ribs out and the ribs and shoulder back, now try bringing the arm up. And we're using muscles more towards the back, actually trying to use the those muscles, serratus anterior, underneath the arm. But we're not using all of our muscles, right? And try the other side with the shoulders back a little bit and the ribs jutting out. So all of this to say that we need to center our shoulders. So let's center our shoulders now. Having done both of this, you probably get a good idea of what that is. Knitting down through the front ribs and the lower tips of the shoulder blades. Not rounding the shoulders, right? Allowing the shoulders to be centered. Spine is elegantly reaching up, buoyant and juicy. And now raise one arm. Can you get a sense of all of the muscles that now are coming into play and how much more efficient you are being as you're spreading that work throughout all of the muscles that are affected when the arm comes up? And try the other side. Some encouragement to center our shoulders. We want our arms to hang freely with centered shoulders. Now let's bring our elbows bent. The tops of the arms are against the body. And we've done this often before, where we squeeze our shoulder blades together. So these muscles between the shoulder blades and the spine, the rhomboids, are squeezing in. And my hands are moving because the shoulder blades are coming in towards the spine. And this is a great thing to do. It's very helpful to our posture and to shortening that rhomboid, those rhomboid muscles in the back that go from the middle side of the scapula, the shoulder blades, in towards the spine. But there's more to this. I give a nod to my teacher, Chris Holmes, who's a body worker and teacher at Kripalu in Massachusetts. And he brings attention to this serratus muscle that comes from the ribs on the side, runs up under the arm and goes in under the shoulder blade and attaches at the midpoint of the shoulder blades. This then becomes the rhomboids. So his point is that yes, we can shorten the rhomboids and try to give them some good exercise. We also need to unstick and stretch this serratus muscle as well, because it's all connected, right? That is part of the system that's coming around. And actually the serratus is attached down here to the external obliques that come across. They go through the rectus abdominis and then down to this external oblique that attaches inside the hip. So really, our inside of our hip coming around up under the serratus anterior, which connects into the shoulder blade, which then becomes the rhomboid, which connects into the spine, and then comes up and connects up into a muscle that comes up to the neck. So we're connected all the way from the occiput underneath the skull down to the hip, kind of rotating around the body in this way. So we're going to work on this serratus muscle on both sides a little bit. Let's sit down to do that. We're going to use our twist just a little bit differently than we usually do. Often when we twist, we bring a hand, and you can come along with me, over to the opposite thigh, other hand comes back behind, and then we spiral up, right? And this is a fine thing to do, and we'll continue to do it. But do note that there's an internal rotation here, and that's partially what we're trying to get away from here, right? So we're going to rotate, let's see, come back through center. I'm not going to mirror you. Let's rotate to the right. The left hand comes across, and then bring it back to the hip in the front. Bring the right hand extending out, palm up, rotating to the right, but the emphasis here is on the stretch in the serratus anterior. The serratus anterior, as I said before, protracts, so it brings the shoulder blades apart, but what we're working on here is that it also raises the arm, the lower fibers of it raise the arm. So we're unsticking that, particularly that part of the serratus. And come around again. Now we're going to rotate to the left. Right hand then comes back to the hip in the front. Left hand extends out with the palm up. Let's hold it here for a moment. What do you feel? There's nerves here, so you might feel some tingling. And just back up a little bit. It's not going to hurt anything. Come back through center. Rotate once again to the right. Left hand, thumb down, reaches out to the left and comes back behind. Bring it behind that left hip. The right hand extends out, thumb up. And we have a little bit of rotation here, so we're stretching around, right, in that transmission that I talked about. The shoulder blade is on the right, is coming in towards the spine. The serratus muscle is getting, and the connective tissue is getting unstuck and stretched here. Nice openness through the shoulder. And then if you want to bring that hand up and down a little bit, judge and discern what is right for your body here. Pulling the left shoulder back just slightly. 3, 2, and 1. Come about round through center. And we'll rotate to the left. Right hand comes over to that thigh for a moment and then comes back, thumb down, out to the side and back behind that right hip. The left arm extends out, thumb up. Press the right hip back into that hand a little bit, so we're opening across the belly as well as across the whole chest, coming up under the underarm. And then if it serves you, let the hand come up and down just gently. Shoulder on the left is coming back a bit. Press that right hip back into the right hand. 3, 2, and 1. And bring it back. Now we'll work on scapular retraction and protraction. So that means the shoulder blades coming apart and going back together. So they tend to be held as our shoulders are rounded in a wider position, and we're trying to encourage that retraction as the shoulder blades come towards each other. And that is all of this strength coming up here across the belly and chest and under the arms and back to the rhomboids in towards the spine. So bring the arms out in front, interlace the fingers with palms forward. So you can feel your shoulder blades wide now, right? Just like they are in a downward dog. Now bring the arms wide and feel the shoulder blades come together. Interlace fingers, push forward, arms wide, and palms forward as the shoulder blades come together. 2 more times. Opening shoulder blades, opening arms, palms open to the front, shoulder blades retracting together. Shoulder blades gliding easily across the ribs in the back. Now, bring the arms wide to the sides. Then arms come forward with palms facing forward. So my wrists are bent so that the palms are facing forward. Knit the lower ribs down, the bottom of the shoulder blades, relaxing down, even pressing those lower tips of the shoulder blades into the spine a bit. We've stabilized our ribs and we're completely allowing the shoulder blades now to retract, only the shoulder blades moving. So I'm squeezing my shoulder blades together and then I'm letting them come apart. So it's a slight movement, moving in and out, ribs stabilized. One more time, wide protraction and bringing the shoulder blades together in a retraction. Open the arms wide, palms up, shoulder blades together, lower front ribs and shoulder blades relaxing down. Then bring the hands together at the heart, let the shoulder blades come apart. Keep the full focus here in this simple movement on the shoulder blades. They're gliding together and apart. Now bring the arms out and let the arms come up and the shoulder blades just wide and up a little bit. The shoulder blades are coming up and out. So again, that glide. So our attempt here is to unstick any stickiness in the shoulder blades, any gluing down in the connective tissue, so that they have free glide, rising up and out, and also as they come together and apart. And bring the hands to the heart. Let's take one moment with just hands on thighs, relaxing down through head, lips and cheeks, down through the neck, long neck in the back, but a loose neck. Letting the connective tissue throughout our spine and shoulders, arms, torso be buoyant and juicy. Letting the tension go, allowing it to be fully full of life. Now, coming back, we're going to rotate to the right. The right hand comes behind the hip, knit the front ribs down and shoulder blades together. So we're stretching that serratus a little bit already. Then to increase, the head comes to the left hand behind the waist. Right arm comes to shoulder height. Squeeze that shoulder blade into the spine on the right side. Bring the thumb up, or maybe the palm up, according to what is right for your body. Palm might be up, thumb up, and come around. Rotate to the left. Left hand comes behind the hip. Knit the front ribs down, shoulder blades together. Already the serratus anterior underneath here is underneath the underarm is being stretched. To increase that, head turns to the right, stretching up in the back of the neck. Right hand comes behind the waist, it's already there. The left arm comes to shoulder height. Squeeze that shoulder blade on the left in towards the spine. And the thumb can come up, or perhaps the palm comes up. Holding for 3, 2, and 1. And bring it down. Perhaps you're starting to feel, take that rubber band again for just a moment and feel the lower ribs and the collarbone stretching apart from each other just slightly. Take it horizontally. Feel the width in the shoulders, the width of the collarbone. Feel the shoulder blades coming in as you stretch horizontally. And then floating your arms up. Hands come together, shoulder blades gliding up and out and coming back to the heart. Let's come into tabletop for just a few minutes here. Instead of our typical cat-cow, we're going to stabilize our ribs, knitting down the lower front ribs, pulling the shoulder blades into the ribs so you're very firm around the ribs here. And then we're going to do just the shoulder blade protraction and retraction. So pushing into the hands so the shoulder blades come apart, and then letting the shoulders come down so the shoulder blades come together. Widening of the shoulder blades, narrowing of the shoulder blades. Shoulder blades gliding. Ribs stabilized, hips level. Now we're going to come into thread the needle. And usually thread the needle is this, where you come down onto your shoulder, and we think of it as a shoulder stretch, and it is a nice shoulder stretch. But once again, it's bringing that shoulder rounded rather than opening it up. So we're going to have a little bit of a different point of view on it this time. Bring your right arm up, which we often do to begin, and then reach it through, but don't bring the shoulder down. Let the hips and ribs remain stable, just the amount of lift through the rib cage and the shoulder blade that's necessary to bring that arm up. Then leave the arm up, gaze might come out to the side slightly, come to a height that is comfortable for your shoulder. Maybe you lift up a little bit more, coming up and down just a little bit with that hand. And we're going to leave it here with our shoulder open, the shoulder blade, the clavicle, the humerus, the top bone of the arm, moving in unison with each other. And then we'll come to the other side. And actually, when we raise our arm like this, the shoulder blade, the clavicle, even the sternum, various joints, 3 joints of the shoulder blade are all moving here, where the sternum connects with the clavicle, collarbone, where the collarbone connects with the shoulder blade over at the far edge of the shoulder, and where the scapula attaches to the humerus, the bone, all of that moving. Now bring your arm up, find a comfortable place for it, allowing that, or inviting that connective tissue in all the parts of your shoulder and neck to get a little unstuck from that rounded shoulder chair culture that we have. Maybe up and down just slightly, care for the shoulder, and bringing that down. We're going to do one more thing here, and that is raise the right, no, first bring the left hand so that the left hand is right under the chin. So we're giving extra support here by bringing our left hand right under our chin. Then the right hand comes up and comes through as if you were going to thread the needle. Shoulders are staying up, hips are level. And what we're really doing here is strengthening this serratus anterior that comes around from the hip up across, connecting with muscles and then connecting with the rhomboids. Strengthening this muscle that comes from the side ribs and connects up to the shoulder blade. Keeping that there, reaching with the hand that's coming under a bit for 3, 2, and 1. Then bring the right hand so it's right under the chin, good support here. Other arm comes up, reaches through, let it reach. Bring your focus to the serratus muscle, serratus anterior that reaches from the ribs up through the shoulder blade and connects with the spine through the rhomboids and up to the neck. Strengthening it here in the right hand and arm and right serratus anterior. And bring it down. All right, coming towards the end of our time, let's do a puppy. Just stretch out a little bit. Hands are the width of the mat, hips are high. Just stretch back. Then coming forward with hands right under shoulders and knees under hips. A cat-cow. Lifting up through the oblique muscles at the waist, bringing the spine up. Stretching from the top half of the pelvic floor forward through the collarbone. So not sinking the stomach down quite so far, but elongating through the spine. It's just a bit of a back bend. One more time, reaching up through the obliques around the waist, bringing the spine up with it, and then reaching back through the front half of the pelvic floor forward through the collarbone and come back through neutral. Bring the hands just slightly forward of the shoulders. Let the hips come back over the heels, circling round and forward. Letting tension go down from the shoulders, through the arms, down into the hands and fingers, into the earth. Neck, heart area, inner organs, relaxing. Come around the opposite direction. Letting tension go from the hips, the pelvic floor, pelvic bowl, down through the thighs, the backs of the knees, calves, the bottom of the feet. And one more time round. Then coming down, rolling over onto your back. Become a star. Let the legs come wide as the mat. And let the hands be wide diagonally above. Again, let the tension run, flow easily down into the earth from the back of the head, the shoulders, the arms, the hands, all the points touching the mat and the earth, the sacrum, the hips, the back of the calves, the heels. Then bring the right ankle over to cross over the front ankle. The right hand comes over to meet the left hand or the left wrist, or just loosely to lie beside each other. Coming into a banana side bend, allowing the ribs on the right side to bow out a little bit. Both sides are long, the spine is long and juicy. Come back through star, diagonally extended through the arms and the legs. Letting tension go back down into the earth once again. Left ankle comes over on top of right ankle. Arms come towards each other, hands come towards each other above the head. Let the ribs on the left bow out. What are you feeling through the sides of the waist, the sides of the hips? Moving to feel and allow tension to rest down. And bring the feet back towards middle. Hands come around onto the abdomen, elbows resting down. Legs can be extended, or if it's more comfortable, bring the knees up and let them lean in towards each other. Come back to that breath that we started with, allowing the lower ribs to expand, that light floating quality coming up under the collarbone. Coming back to that balance in the midst of chaos. Knowing that it's just this moment in which there is a task to be calm and to balance in peace. One more breath. And then rolling over on your side, bring yourself up into a seated position. Invitation to bring hands to the heart. And we'll inhale and end with an Om, exercising the connective tissue of our expressive voice box. Inhaling. Namaste. Thanks for practicing. I hope this practice has brought some ease to your shoulders and neck, some opening in your chest. Be well.